You know, everything changed in a matter of seconds. The final whistle blew, the season ended, and almost instantly, the whispers began. Did the league's schedule makers look at the rising tide in the Windy City and just decide to build a dam? Are they actively, deliberately conspiring against the Chicago Bears? Honestly, you have to ask yourself, did the NFL actually betray Chicago? Just let that sink in for a second. Because when you sit down and examine the sheer brutality of this leaked 2026 schedule, the back-breaking holiday turnarounds, the absolutely glaring international snubs, and a primetime gauntlet that looks like it was literally designed to test the physical and mental limits of a football team, you have to wonder, is this just the luck of the draw? Or is this a calculated test by the league to see if a rising empire can be crushed before it truly takes the throne? Welcome to the 2026 Bears schedule, a cinematic explainer brought to you right here by NFL Nexus. I'm your host, and today we are going to tear apart these leaks, dive into the rumors, and expose the terrifying realities of the season ahead. But listen, to survive the grueling storm that's coming to Chicago, you cannot fight alone. We need you with us. Hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus, leave a like on this explainer, and join our ranks as a channel member. All right, let's step into the dark trenches of this schedule. To truly understand the gravity of what 2026 represents, we have to first return to the scene of the crime, the 2025 heartbreak, the divisional round. Look, the Chicago Bears had done the impossible. They fought their way back from the absolute wilderness, reaching the playoffs for the first time in 5 grueling years. They finally tasted NFC North glory. You could feel the culture shifting in the city. But then, the Los Angeles Rams came to town. Picture the biting cold, the deafening roar of that crowd slowly turning into a heavy, suffocating silence. Because the Rams didn't just beat the Bears, they dismantled a dream. They ended the campaign in literally the most agonizing way imaginable. 20-17 in overtime. I want to be clear, that isn't just a score line. It is a deep psychological scar burned into the minds of every single player who had to make that slow walk back into the locker room. Sudden death. It comes down to one mistake, one misread, one fraction of a second, and your entire season just evaporates into thin air. But here's the thing, that sudden death heartbreak didn't destroy them. Actually, it changed them. It mutated their ambition into this dark, ravenous hunger. That 20-17 loss is the ghost haunting the halls of Hallis Hall right now. It's the high-octane fuel burning all off-season. Make no mistake, they are not the same team they were before that overtime period. They are something much, much more dangerous. Which brings us to the very first leak of the year, the genesis of the 2026 campaign. Now, a lot of us were bracing for a Wednesday night trip to Seattle to face the defending Super Bowl champion Seahawks. That was the rumor. But the league went in a completely different direction. NFL insider Jordan Schultz leaked the first real bombshell. The Panthers will host the Bears in Week 1 as a pair of former #1 overall picks face off. Let's be real here, this is not just a season opener, this is an inescapable reckoning. The Bears are heading east to Carolina. And the narrative? It's a heavy, suffocating shadow that's going to follow both of these franchises right into that stadium. Caleb Williams versus Bryce Young. It's a literal collision of destinies. The immense, crushing pressure bearing down on both of these quarterbacks is almost hard to articulate. We're talking about 2 former #1 overall picks, 2 rising teams in the NFC. Both Carolina and Chicago won their respective divisions last year, which is huge. But beneath those division titles lies the inescapable history. Listen, every single time Bryce Young drops back to pass, he will be compared to the man standing on the opposite sideline, period. And every time Caleb Williams throws a deep out, the ghost of what Carolina gave up to get Young will echo through the stands. This isn't just about starting the season 1-0. For both of these guys, it's about historical validation. We really have to stop and hyperanalyze the monumental scale of the trade that set this entire stage. The Panthers received Bryce Young, a massive, franchise-altering investment. But the Bears? They didn't just get Caleb Williams in return. They received a tectonic shift for their organization. First, they drafted offensive tackle Darnell Wright. This is a man who has become an absolute brick wall in the trenches, specifically designed to keep Caleb clean. And then, they acquired DJ Moore. Think about the granular, every-down impact of Moore on this offense. The precise route running, the explosive yards after the catch, the sheer dynamic playmaking ability that forces opposing defensive coordinators to lose sleep. The Bears essentially built an empire using Carolina's bricks. And now, in Week 1, they're going to march that empire down to Charlotte and parade it right in front of them. The psychological warfare of this single matchup absolutely cannot be overstated. But Week 1, That is merely the prologue. What happens when the weather turns cold? Welcome to the Holiday Gauntlet, running from Thanksgiving on November 26th all the way to Christmas on December 25th. I really want you to feel the physical and mental exhaustion radiating from this timeline. Look, in the modern NFL, playing just one holiday game requires a massive sacrifice of recovery time and preparation. But playing two high-stakes holiday games in a single month, that is a brutal, unforgiving grind. The bodies of these players will be completely battered, their recovery windows will shrink to almost nothing. This stretch right here, this is where seasons are broken. This is exactly where playoff dreams go to die in the freezing ice. It all kicks off with Thanksgiving in Detroit, facing the division rival Detroit Lions inside Ford Field. Get this. It's the 5th time in 9 years these two franchises will clash on this exact holiday. And remember, the Bears actually went 0-2 against the Lions last season, even though Chicago won the NFC North. But it's not just about the division rivalry anymore. It's about the trauma of the past. It's about forcing this team to walk back into a building that holds arguably the darkest memories of this franchise's recent history.
52 points. Just let that number hang in the air for a second. 52. That is exactly what Ben Johnson's Detroit Lions dropped on the Chicago Bears in Week 2 of 2024. It was Johnson's first game back at Ford Field, and honestly, it was a massacre. Think back to the absolute disaster of that afternoon. The complete systemic breakdown of the Chicago defense. The sheer embarrassment of it happening on national television. That catastrophic loss was the final nail in the coffin that led to the firing of head coach Matt Eberflus. It was a disaster that fundamentally altered the trajectory of the entire franchise. And now, on Thanksgiving Day with the entire country watching, the Bears have to return to the exact scene of the slaughter. The ghosts of those 52 points will be waiting for them at the door.
And that's a big F, they managed to survive the Lions. They are rewarded with a rumored Christmas war against the Green Bay Packers. Please, do not treat this as just another football game. Treat this as what it truly is. A legendary, brutal winter siege at Soldier Field. Christmas Day. The oldest rivalry in professional football, the freezing, biting winds coming right off Lake Michigan. Two teams fighting for their absolute playoff lives while the rest of the world sits by a fire opening presents. The physical toll of playing Detroit on Thanksgiving, fighting through the mud of December, and then facing Green Bay on Christmas. That is a schedule maker's cruel joke. It is an absolute test of human endurance. But the real danger that truly hides in the primetime minefield. Let's take some time and break down the agonizing tactical threats presented here. Monday night against the Eagles? That guarantees a grinding, heavy-hitting physical toll that lingers for weeks. Thursday night against the Patriots? That brings a painfully short week where you have to prepare for a deeply confusing defensive scheme. Then they have another Monday night clash, traveling all the way cross-country to play in Seattle. Add in a Sunday night chess match down in Tampa Bay, and a potential freezing Saturday war against the Bills. Every single one of these primetime games is a hidden trapdoor that could easily send the entire season spiraling into the abyss. There are no easy outs here.
But amidst all the brutality of this schedule, there is something else. Something that goes way beyond the hash marks. We need to talk about the Madrid snub. Let's shift our focus to November 8th. The Bears were widely expected by everyone to travel to Madrid, Spain. This was supposed to be their moment to expand their global footprint and reward an international fan base that has bled navy and orange for decades. But the league, they completely shut them out. They took the opportunity and literally slammed the door in Chicago's face.
And the discrepancy here is just staggering. The overwhelming expectation was the Atlanta Falcons hosting the Chicago Bears in Madrid. That was the matchup. The reality? The Falcons are hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. You really have to stop and question the motives of Commissioner Roger Goodell and the NFL front office on this one. Why was Cincinnati chosen to replace Chicago on the global stage? I mean, the Bears play some of the most exciting, dynamic football in the entire league right now. They have a massive, starving fan base. They literally just made it to the divisional round. What possible metric justifies stripping this rising team of their international moment and just handing it over to the Bengals?
The glaring hypocrisy of it all becomes even more enraging when you look at the systemic breakdown of who actually is traveling. The Detroit Lions are going to Munich. The New Orleans Saints and the Jacksonville Jaguars are both playing abroad. And by the way, both the Saints and the Jags are scheduled to play the Bears at Soldier Field this year anyway. But here is the most damning fact of the entire situation. The Chicago Bears literally hold official marketing rights in Spain right alongside the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. They own the rights to the very market the NFL just locked them out of.
Look, the last time the Bears played internationally was in 2014, when they absolutely crushed the Jaguars in London 35-16. They proved they can draw a massive crowd, they proved they can win decisively abroad, and yet the NFL consciously decided to leave them at home. Trust me, it is a slight that has absolutely not gone unnoticed inside that locker room.
And if there is one man in this league who thrives on disrespect, someone who uses every single ounce of it as high-octane fuel, it is Caleb Williams. Let's look at his 2025 Vengeance Tour, because it was a pure statement. 3,942 passing yards, 27 passing touchdowns, 330 completions across 17 regular season games. He didn't just play well, he systematically silenced every single critic who dared to question his leadership. He completely silenced the whispers about his ability to elevate a franchise, and now you have a quarterback who has tasted the playoffs, who felt the bitter, stinging pain of a 2017 overtime playoff loss, and who just watched the league snub his team on the international stage. Williams is going to use all of this. The schedule, the primetime gauntlet, the Madrid snub, it is all going straight into the furnace.
And let's be clear, he is not walking into this war alone. The offensive weaponry surrounding Williams is uniquely built to survive this grueling, horrific schedule. First, you have rookie tight end Colston Loveland. He's an absolute matchup nightmare over the middle of the field, acting as a crucial safety valve who turns broken, busted plays into fresh sets of downs. And then you pair that with veteran running back DeAndre Swift. This is a man who knows exactly how to navigate the brutal, muddy trenches of the NFC North, providing this dynamic dual-threat capability straight out of the backfield. So this offense, it isn't just flashy, it is heavily armored. It is purpose-built to withstand the Thanksgiving grinds, the freezing Christmas weather, and those brutal Thursday night short weeks. The pieces are officially on the board. The traps are set. And as we track every single development, every rumor, and every snap of this 2026 season, you are going to need a place to gather your intel. So join the war room. Subscribe to NFL Nexus right now, hit the like button on this explainer, and drop a comment down below telling me exactly who you fear the most on this schedule. Become a channel member today so you can get the exclusive deep dive breakdowns you need to navigate the chaos of the coming months. We're going to leave you with this final echoing thought. The haunting ghosts of Carolina, the Thanksgiving trauma waiting in Detroit, the absolute winter siege on Christmas against Green Bay, the relentless primetime gauntlet, and the glaring international disrespect. The league has placed an unimaginable, crushing weight on the shoulders of Caleb Williams and this entire franchise. The pressure will be absolute. The pain is going to be incredibly real. So the only question that truly matters now is this. Will this schedule finally break the Chicago Bears? Or is the intense fire of 2026 exactly what is needed to forge a dynasty?